All right, get ready because today we're going deep on something totally unexpected. The philosophy and even spirituality you can find in the cartoon Fat Dog Mendoza.
Yeah, that's right. We're checking out this podcast episode called Fat Dog Mendoza, Philosophy and Faith in the Absurd. It's from this podcast called Strange Serenity. It's pretty wild. Who knew a cartoon dog could make you think so much?
It makes you wonder what else we're missing, right? Like what other deep stuff is hiding out there?
Definitely. So in this podcast, they call Fat Dog Mendoza a commentary on how absurd life is.
Okay, I can kind of see that. The show is full of these crazy situations and characters that don't make sense. But have you ever noticed that even with all that chaos, everyone, especially Fat Dog, is still so optimistic?
Yeah, Fat Dog's got this whole just go with it attitude that's almost like contagious.
Yeah.
He's like, the world might be nuts, but I'm going to have a good time anyway.
It's true. The Source podcast brings up Albert Camus, the philosopher.
Right. Camus talked about finding meaning even when the world feels meaningless, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
For sure. And they even bring up the myth of Sisyphus, the guy who's always pushing a boulder up a hill, but it just rolls back down.
Oh yeah, talk about a bad day.
Right. What's the point of all that?
Well, that's exactly it.
Okay.
It seems totally pointless, right?
Right.
But the idea is that even when things seem hopeless, when the struggle just seems absurd, you still have a choice. Sisyphus, and in a way, Fat Dog, they choose to keep going. They find meaning in the doing, even if the result never changes.
So it's about enjoying the journey, even if the destination is a bit, well, absurd. I'm starting to see how Fat Dog could be like a philosophical guide.
That's exactly how the podcast sees him. They actually call him an existential guru, which I love.
It's kind of a perfect fit when you think about it. He doesn't let the chaos get to him. Instead, he just laughs and uses it to be even more creative.
Exactly. So then the podcast gets into this whole spiritual thing.
Okay, now that's where I get a little lost. We're talking about a cartoon dog, not some religious figure, right?
Right. But they present Fat Dog as this trickster archetype.
Trickster.
Yeah. He might not be a god, but he kind of embodies this idea that pops up in mythology and folklore all the time. Think of Loki from Norse mythology or Coyote in Native American stories.
I kind of remember those from school. So, for those of us who aren't mythology experts, what's so special about tricksters?
Well, they're known for being mischievous and unpredictable. But they also have this deeper purpose. Their antics, even when they're chaotic, they often reveal hidden truths or challenge the way things are. They shake things up and make us question what we thought we knew.
So, are they saying that Fat Dog's crazy adventures are actually a way of making us see things from a new perspective?
Exactly, and it's not about pushing any specific religion. It's more about encouraging people to question things, to challenge their ideas about the world.
This is making me think about Fat Dog Mendoza totally differently. I never realized there was so much going on beneath all those silly adventures.
It just goes to show you that even the things we think we know can surprise us. Oh, and there's one more thing. The podcast talks about how important community is in the show.
Yeah, that's true. Even though Fat Dog Mendoza is in this weird random world, the characters really care about each other. They're always there for each other, no matter how crazy things get. Like Fat Dog and Little Costume Buddy, they always have each other's backs.
Exactly. And that's where they connected to our lives. They're saying that even when life feels absurd or chaotic, the relationships we build, the communities we're part of, they can really ground us and give us a sense of purpose.
I totally get that. It's like when things stop making sense, those connections remind us that we're not alone in all the craziness.
Exactly. And that leads to this big question the podcast asks. Could Fat Dog Mendoza actually be making a case for faith?
Hold on, Faith. Are we talking about like religious faith here?
Not necessarily in the traditional way. They argue that it's more about having faith in something bigger than yourself, whether it's the power of laughter, the importance of connection, or even just how resilient people can be.
So, are they saying that Fat Dog's like never-ending optimism, his belief in the good in others, even when everything's crazy, is a form of faith?
That's one way to think about it. They're suggesting that Fat Dog Mendoza, through all its weirdness, might actually be teaching us to trust the journey, to believe that even in a world that feels random, there's still room for joy and meaning.
Wow, I never thought I'd be talking about existentialism and faith while discussing a cartoon dog. This is already blowing my mind.
And we're just getting started. The podcast has so much more to say about Fat Dog Mendoza, and we're going to dig into all of it as we continue our deep dive.
I can't wait. It's like there's this whole world of meaning hidden in this cartoon that I never even considered. But we'll get to that in a minute, so stay tuned.
And we're back, diving deeper into the wild world of Fat Dog Mendoza.
It's so weird. I watched this show growing up, but never thought about all this deep stuff.
I know, right? It shows you how powerful stories can be. Like, even silly stuff can have these big ideas behind it.
Totally. And in Strange Serenity, they talk about how embracing weirdness can actually lead to peace. It sounds kind of backwards, but the more I think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah, like when we try to control everything, when we think life should be all neat and predictable, we're setting ourselves up to be let down.
Because life's not neat or predictable, is it?
Not even close.
Uh,
And when we fight against all that chaos and randomness, we just end up stressed and frustrated. But Fat Dog Mendoza shows us a different way.
It's like the show is saying, look, the world is weird, so just go with it.
Exactly. Instead of fighting the absurdity, Fat Dog Mendoza says embrace it. Find the funny side of things. Find the beauty in the unexpected, just like Fat Dog does.
It's like saying, okay, world, do your worst. I'm ready for anything.
Yeah, exactly. And the podcast argues that when you let go of control, when you surrender to that weirdness, that's where you find real peace.
It reminds me of that trickster thing we talked about with Fat Dog.
Right. Those trickster figures like Loki or Coyote, they cause chaos, but they also use that chaos to show us what's really true.
So Fat Dog's craziness is actually pushing things forward. Like he's making people change and grow by shaking things up.
Exactly. He's making everyone question their ideas, and he's doing the same thing for us, the audience.
It makes me think about how I deal with challenges in my own life. Maybe instead of stressing out and trying to control everything, I should just be more like Fat Dog.
I love that. Maybe by going with the flow, by embracing the randomness, you'll find solutions you never even thought of.
So what Strange Serenity is saying is that even when Fat Dog seems totally bonkers, he might actually be showing us a better way to live.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about solving problems. It's about finding joy, even when things don't go as planned.
This whole conversation is making me see Fat Dog Mendoza in a whole new light.
It's crazy what you can learn when you really look at something, isn't it? Makes you wonder what other secrets are hiding in plain sight.
Right. Maybe there's some hidden philosophical message in your favorite sitcom, or a life lesson tucked away in a kid's book.
The possibilities are endless. The important thing is to stay curious, to ask questions, and to be open to finding meaning in unexpected places, just like we've done with Fat Dog Mendoza.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And in our last segment, we'll look at one more big idea from Strange Serenity that might just inspire you to embrace the weirdness in your own life. All right, we're back for the last part of our deep dive into the surprisingly profound world of Fat Dog Mendoza.
It's been quite a journey, right? Who would have thought we'd find so much to unpack in a cartoon that seems, so simple on the surface?
It really shows you can find wisdom in the most unexpected places, right? And speaking of wisdom, Strange Serenity leaves us with this final question that I think is worth really thinking about.
Yeah, they really hit us with the thought-provoking one, don't they? They ask, what seems absurd in your life, like on the surface, but might actually have a deeper meaning if you really look at it?
It's a great question, right? It makes you look at those parts of your life that you might just brush off as like silly or pointless and think, wait, is there something more here?
Right. Maybe it's a hobby you have that other people just don't get, or some weird tradition your family does, or maybe it's just like a way you think that makes total sense to you, but everyone else thinks is strange.
The point is, sometimes the things that seem absurd or illogical to other people actually mean a lot to us.
And a lot of times, those are the things that bring us the most joy, the things that make us feel the most alive, even if they don't make sense to anyone else.
Exactly. And what Strange Serenity is telling us is to embrace those things, to not be afraid to find meaning in the absurd, even if it seems weird to others.
It's about trusting your gut and seeing the value in the things that speak to you, even if they don't fit into what everyone else thinks is normal.
Just like Fat Dog, right? He's always defying logic and doing things his own way, and somehow it works for him.
That's a great way to put it. That's a powerful message. Fat Dog Mendoza, this cartoon that we probably thought was just for fun, is actually teaching us to accept the absurdity of life and find our own way to peace.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap things up. So, as you go about your day, think about that question. What seems absurd in your life but might actually have a deeper meaning? You might be surprised by what you find.
And remember, like Fat Dog Mendoza shows us, there's often way more to things than we realize. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep embracing the weirdness.